Welcome to the Fright Lab. I'm Lucas Yoakum. Tonight, we are getting into the 16th entry into our, coverage of the 31 Days of Halloween, the 31 Days of Horror. We hope you're enjoying as many horror movies as we are this month. And let's get into our entry, specifically a weirdo little joint that we talked about a little bit ago, Horror in the High Desert. We talked about this movie a little bit in the first episode of our series on Horror Cinema Verité, on found footage. It's time we change that because we didn't talk about it terribly long. It's time that we actually get into this film just a little bit and talk about why it's special, what it did wrong, but what it did right also. So it said, I am a fan of this movie. I think it's a very entertaining little flick. I don't know that it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It is very clearly the first film that came out from a director named Dutch Merrick, or Dutch Merrick. I'm not sure of his last name, Mr. Merrick. If you are hearing this by some strange opportunity, sorry. But so it was the first time film of a director, and he was being asked, I think, on some level, or asking himself maybe, to work under some very crazy constraints. The constraint he was working under was that of the COVID-19 pandemic. So much so that it's noteworthy in the film that no two actors appear on screen at the same time, and at no point is anyone really interacting with anyone else. It's kind of wild in that way. And until I read that, it hadn't dawned on me. It's kind of a neat thing that the movie actually works at all, given that constraint. So what is Horror in the High Desert about? What's the plot? So the plot is very loosely based on something known as the Kenny Veach case. Veach was a YouTuber who went missing back in 2014. He went missing apparently after setting out to explore a cave he found, I believe in Nevada, and as of this time has never been found. No one's entirely sure what happened to Kenny Veach. And, if you want to spend 20 minutes on YouTube, you'll find good documentaries about it. It's kind of outside of the scope of this episode. So the movie follows very loosely the Kenny Veach case, specifically a YouTuber internet personality type of the most mild variety goes missing on a trip that he took. He was a kind of a survivalist and hiker influencer guy, I guess, who went hiking, found something out in the desert that scared the hell out of him. Well, he is forced for some reason to go look for it again, and as you might imagine, goes missing shortly thereafter. It's a very simple setup, and I think it had just been told through this one guy's kind of vlogs. I think it would have failed miserably. The actor does a really good job of being very unassuming and very maybe bashful in front of the camera. He doesn't really seem to be all that interested in being a star. He's not particularly clever. He does a good job. The actor who plays him does an excellent job, but that's not my point. So let's kind of talk for a minute about what this film does wrong, because again, it is a director's first outing. So I'm very, generous with it. He's done 100% more filmmaking than I have at this point. But there's a few things that made the movie a little hard to watch for me. Specifically, the actress playing the main character's sister, who takes up a lot of screen time, quite frankly, was just the wrong choice, I think. I felt like her style and her performance was very, more of a soap opera type acting than it was a film, especially a mockumentary. Not to say that she didn't do a good job. I think she did okay, but I just felt like she was the wrong pick for that. The music cues in a few spots are a little off, and I think maybe the music was a little too loud in the mix. That's just me because I spend a lot of time with headphones on. I'm a little sensitive to that sort of thing, maybe. The ending of the film, it's effective, but it's very trope heavy, night vision cameras and all of that. I don't know how else the film could have ended given the plot and given the way it was recorded, or the way it was planned out, I guess is maybe a better term. I don't know. It just goes on a bit long and didn't really need to follow all the directions it followed. And there are some minor continuity issues, and I'm not going to nitpick those. I know what they are, but I'm not going to nitpick those too terribly much. That would be, I think, almost mean, quite frankly. But they do kind of get a little confusing in a couple of spots. Not that big of a deal. But I want to talk for a minute about what the film got right. And as much as I've complained off the bat about the director, Dutch Marich, him getting some stuff, I think, just on a technical level, a little rough. He really did some special stuff with this film. He made a lot of very smart shot choices. His decision to use drone footage out in Nevada was a really good thing. This film, for the most part, is a treat to look at. It is a really, really handsome film for being a micro-budgeted kind of almost single-person production when you get down to who was doing what and when. I felt like, other than the sister, the casting was actually really solid. Some of it is clearly amateur actors, people who are either earlier in their career or maybe this is their first credit or whatever. But it's clear that a lot of those actors were being very natural. The conversations felt shockingly normal. I don't think this documentary quite nails the tone that Savage Land did. If you haven't heard my commentary on that, go back a couple episodes. It's a good episode. You'll like it. I don't think it quite nails that level of commentary necessarily, but it is well done. It does feel like a documentary. I actually have seen a little chatter online of people who were not sure whether or not the film was a documentary or not, which is, it's funny, but whatever. So there's a couple of things about the film that I really like outside of those points. One, there's this recurring theme throughout the film about secrecy and mystery, people not really knowing at any point what they're walking into. I think that element, this sort of what the hell is going on in the high desert of Nevada that is happening, that is causing all of this, this particular brand of chaos, because it's done in this very poker-faced documentary style, I feel like it works in that regard. And that feeling it from the word go, what the hell is happening here? It's actually really effective. That could be very alienating if it's done poorly, but it's done just super effectively. Finally, there's this kind of element of high strangeness in the movie. That term is typically used to describe anytime there's a series of incidents that are just too bizarre or too anomalous or too absurd to offer reasonable, quote unquote, normal explanations for a thing occurring. It's a tiny thing, but at no point does anyone ever come straight out and say, oh, it is horror trope X. That is what's happening here. It's left kind of out in the open. And the way it plays out is very, not disjointed, but it's just very high strangeness. And that's a neat thing that I don't see played with quite enough for my tastes, at least until recently. I'll get to that in the next episode, though. So I want to leave it here tonight and ask you all a very important question. Horror in the High Desert. Have you seen it? And if you have, did you enjoy it? What other films are out there that scratch the high strangeness itch? And what do you think about this director's outside work? I know that Dutch Marich has done a few other films. I don't think I've seen any of them other than, well, you'll hear next episode. You should let us know what you think by reaching out to us at thefrightlabpodcast@gmail.com. We can be found on basically all social media. Just look for The Fright Lab. We're on YouTube and Discord. So in the meantime, friends, siblings, it's the Halloween season. You should hang up this episode and go pop on a scary movie. And while you're doing that, just remember your old friends, Lucas and Joe at The Fright Lab. As always, I'm Lucas Yoakum, and I write and research this whole thing. Joe is our perfect, amazing, that's very silly. Let me try that again. I'm not blowing you that much up, Joe. Have a good chuckle on me. And Joe is our producer and co-host, and without him, there is no Fright Lab. So, in the meantime, enjoy your Halloween season, and we'll talk to you all again very, very soon.